Hello, guys and gals, and welcome to another episode of Unique Items. Today, we're going to be taking a look at another one of the Necromancer uniques, and I don't happen to have like the best version of this. I do have one, but I don't have the best version. So we're going to take a look on the website for the stats for this one. This one is called the Mutilator Plate. The Mutilator Plate is an interesting one that was added back in, I think it was like Season 3. And it's definitely been changed for the new seasons. So we're going to go over the new stats, and then we're going to go take a look at the effects. So first off, right off the bat, it has a really amazing amount of maximum life of 17.5 on the top end, which is going to be a lot of percentage of maximum life to help you out. If you're unaware, maximum life percentages actually do stack on top of each other cumulatively, which is really freaking nice. And even though it's not like a super large amount, they do actually give more than what they state. Let me give you an example. Let's say you add 1,000, you have 1,000 HP, and you add 3% HP. That's going to be a 30 bonus. Well, if you add another 3% HP, it's going to be 30.9 that time. And then if you add another 3% HP, it's going to be 31.827. And if you add another 3% HP, it's going to be 32.785. It basically kind of stacks this way on top of itself. So having a large 17.5%, which of course can be a lot higher if you get a greater affix, if you get some nice other bone modifiers, can definitely be really effective at bringing up your HP. This also is really good for skills that are overpowering a lot, and basically all blood skills have like some way to guarantee like overpowers, and so the more HP you have, the more overpower damage you have. The more fortify you have. The more HP you have, the more fortify you have, and the more fortify you have, the more overpower damage you have, and it just feeds into itself. It also makes you pretty tanky too, which is not bad. It also gives you a 13 to 17.5% damage reduction, which is monsters that are affected by blood skills, which is a kind of like a DR on Tuesdays. I'm not really too like enthused with DR on Tuesdays because a lot of the times it doesn't work when you need it the most. Also, the monster has to be under the effect of it for you to get it, which means that sometimes if all your buffs are down for whatever reason, the monster can just come up and one-punk you, which is not very fun. But it is a rather large amount of damage reduction, which is certainly not terrible. It also has 46.5 to 60% Blood Lance duration, which is going to come in handy for the way that this ability works. And it also has 4 ranks to Blood Lance itself, which is not bad. Now we can take a look at the unique effect, which is you are Blood Lanced. So the way that the Blood Lance works is it has some very interesting connotations of like giving you benefits to when the monster has been Blood Lanced. And as you can see here, I'll just read the skills. It says throw a Blood Lance that lingers at an enemy for 3 seconds, dealing 33,295 to 40,000 damage to that enemy and all other lanced enemies. And then we take it a little bit further and we go to Enhanced Blood Lance. Blood Lance pierces through enemies who are currently lanced, dealing 10% reduced damage to subsequent enemies after the first. Then we have Supernatural Blood Lance, which is after casting Blood Lance 6 times, your next cast of Blood Lance is guaranteed to overpower and spawns a blood orb underneath the first enemy hits. Or you can go with Paranormal Blood Lance, which is while at least 2 targets or a boss are affected by Blood Lance, you gain a 15% increased attack speed, and Blood Lance essence cost is reduced by 3. So a lot of the things that have to do with Blood Lance have to do with being lanced, right? You need at least one other monster lanced, like tons of other things like this. Well, when you put on the armor, you are now lanced. Like, it just basically puts a Blood Lance through your body. And so because you are now lanced, you now start to fulfill some of these conditions. Like, for instance, while at least 2 targets or a boss are affected by Blood Lance, you gain the attack speed bonus, right? Well, that means I only have to Blood Lance 1 additional target, and now I've got the reduction in the attack speed increase, right? So I don't need to have this like on as many targets because I'm also Blood Lance, you see. Now, to take it even further, the unique effect says that you are Blood Lanced, and when the Blood Lance would deal damage to you, like because it deals damage to everybody that is Blood Lanced, instead, it fortifies you for 3.9, or 1 to 4% of your maximum life, and has a 10% chance to form a Blood Orb. Blood Lance now deals 40% times increased damage bonus. So this not only functions as a way to deal additional damage by making sure that you're reaching those crucial numbers of having the maximum number of Blood Lances that you need in a target to get certain bonuses, but it's also going to help in other ways by allowing you to fortify yourself, which is going to be very nice. So we're just going to go ahead and we're going to start blood lancing everything. We're going to get as many targets blood lanced as we possibly can. And you notice that now we're fortified. It didn't really take very long to become fortified using this method.
Mr. Goody Two Shoes, Mr. Goody Two Shoes. Ginger Evil Mentor here. Why bother farming when you can go to MMOEXP.com and simply purchase your items in gold? GGM would have you farm the items. What a pathetic being. Use code GEM Ginger Evil Mentor for 6% off your entire purchase. And don't tell Ginger Gaming Mentor that I was here.
It's actually a pretty interesting item because it functions well within the way that the Blood Lance ability works, allowing you to obviously count yourself as one of the monsters who have been Blood Lanced, which obviously automatically increases your total number of monsters Blood Lanced by 1, which also means that when you're fighting, for instance, like a boss or something like that, you're going to have 2 targets Blood Lanced at all times. And on top of this, it also helps with your overpower bonuses as well, because you can have more targets blood lanced quicker. You also get the blood orbs spawning at your own feet, if you haven't noticed. So when you look at the effect, it basically says that you have a chance, 10% chance to form a blood orb at the target that's being blood lanced. Well, you're one of the targets that's being blood lanced. So not only do you have blood orbs potentially forming at the monster's feet, but you also have blood orbs potentially forming at your own feet, because you are, of course, one of the blood lance targets. And the blood orbs that form at your own feet, if you notice, are automatically picked up by you because they're so close. You don't even have to move. Which feeds into a whole other aspect of this, which is the blood orbs themselves. Now, there are tons of ways that you can potentially utilize blood orbs to your advantage. Everything from when you collect blood orbs, you gain additional damage, to things like healing yourself for extra damage or extra HP when you collect the blood orbs. There's also aspects that specifically have to do with blood orbs. So when you go take a look at the aspects, there's things where, like, when you collect a blood orb, you have a certain chance to restore resource, and we'll go to the occultist so we can actually read them off one by one. Well, let's go ahead and put blood orbs. So not this one, because that's the one that creates them. And hold on, we probably take off the S there because it might not be. There we go. So blood orbs grant 25 essence whenever you collect them, which basically means that you can have basically infinite essence using this armor, because every single time you're attacking with your blood skill, you got a 10% chance to put a blood orb directly at your feet, which means you don't even have to run to pick it up or anything. You're just going to get 25 essence every single time you collect that blood orb, and it's going to be pretty powerful. There's also the flash blood aspect, which is blood orbs reduce your ultimate cooldowns by 1 to 2.5 seconds, which means that you could potentially have your ultimate on, like, permanent, like, just lockdown. So you could be spamming, say, your bone storm, or you could be spamming your minion one, which is the army of the dead, or you could be spamming your tidal wave, your blood wave, and those are pretty nice too. There's also casting blood lance will consume blood orbs to also conjure lances from them. Each additional lance deals 50% normal damage and prioritizes targets unlanced by you at that particular time period. So here's another option, which when used in combination with the interesting Mutilator's Plate effect, is you're getting these free blood orbs, and also the aspect of the Gore's Quills is making it so that the blood quills, your blood orbs will shoot blood lances at nearby targets, which is also another way that this is just really interesting. So we've got a lot of really fun ways that we can utilize the additional blood orbs that are created. We have permanent fortification to help us with our overpower damage. We're also getting a nice little bump to the blood lance itself. And honestly, if you're using the blood lance ability, it seems like the Mutilator Plate is a no-brainer for this build, because it offers you so much in the way of increasing your blood lance damage. It increases the duration, it increases your overpower damage by increasing your health, it increases your fortify damage by increasing your health, by increasing your overpower damage. It increases the damage reduction that you have, a pretty nice damage reduction with the up to 17.5% damage reduction from blood skills. You get a very nice bonus to your blood lance ability, and then on top of that, we also get the free blood orbs, which can be utilized for the aspect of gut gore quills, the aspect of potent blood, the fast blood aspect, and all of it is definitely going to feed in nicely to the way that the build works. On top of this, we also have the flavor text. Let's read that here real quick. The Cathedral Light's earliest attempts at crafting their penitent armor was to infuse the plate with painful blood magic. Before such acts were deemed heretical, Barrett's Book of Implements. I think that's pretty much it for this particular item. It's definitely an interesting one, but it is hyper-specific to Necromancer, and it's hyper-specific to the Bloodlance Necromancer. Now, one interesting side thing here is that if you're willing to at least use the Bloodlance, it seems like you could potentially just like have Bloodlance on your bar, just like as a like an incidental skill, not as like one of your main skills, because with a 4% fortify for maximum life, you could potentially just throw out some blood lances every now and then just to get the fortification effect, which Necromancer does have a lot of issues fortifying their characters, to be perfectly honest. As always, I do appreciate you guys and gals joining me. If you're looking to find this particular item, you can find it at Beast in the Ice. Beast in the Ice is the position, the boss that drops this particular item. It also happens to be the place where you can find several other really nice uniques this season. Like, for instance, the Fist of Fate also drops there. The Frosties drop there. So if you're looking for any of those, honestly, it's a really good place for a lot of uniques this season. As you can see, Fist of Fate, Frostburns, Mutilator Plates. There's also some other good uniques that drop from Beast in the Ice as well. And in general, I mean, farming him is certainly not going to be terrible. And if you can get yourself a really nice Mutilator Plate, honestly, when I'm looking at the Mutilator Plate, I see the maximum life as a really good greater affix option. The damage reduction from blood skills might not be too bad either. And the Blood Lance duration seems like the real winner, because the longer that the Blood Lance lasts, the more pulses you get, the more pulses you get, the more fortify you get, the more pulses you get, the more blood orbs you get, and so forth and so on. And so it's definitely going to be really nice. As always, thanks for watching, guys and gals. Be sure to hit that like button and the subscribe button, and keep watching.